Joining us. This is CompanyCam on desktop. My name is Bree. I'm an implementation specialist on our mid-market side. I am surrounded by awesome people that are going to help support us through class today. We have Sarah, we have Chase, we have Eric, we have Aaron and Sammy and Mariana. They are all going to be on the chat and the Q&A side. So if you have questions as we go through our class today, when you look at your Zoom bar, you're going to see a Q&A option. Open that up. That is going to be where you're going to want to ask your questions. That's going to make sure we can answer them, make sure we're getting to everybody. It's also going to be a great place for us to mark some questions that we can answer live as well, especially if they pertain to the whole group. So use that Q&A for any questions that you have over material from class today. You'll see a chat option. Utilize that. If you're having any like audio issues or if there are any like comments, feel free to put those there, but utilize that Q&A for the best place to ask those questions. So again, CompanyCam on desktop. Our agenda for today is primarily going to be desktop focused. So we won't spend a ton of time in the app. We'll hop in just so you can see a few things from the point of view of your crew, so you have kind of an understanding of the things that you're setting up and how they will utilize them. But mainly focusing on the desktop. We'll start with getting your projects created. We'll talk about how to share photos with customers out of CompanyCam. Get into creating a report and utilizing your checklist. We'll also talk a bit about collaborating with subcontractors or anybody else that might be working on a job site with you that isn't a part of your company. And then kind of wrapping up with organizing your projects and your photos with tags and labels. We'll chat a little bit about account management. And then if we have time, we'll get to showcases. We might have to toss a link in for showcases. That is one we always tend to run a little long with our admin class. So we may not get to showcases, but we'll make sure you've got some information on that. And again, can always get you connected with your customer success manager or a support team if you have further questions or want more of a demo on this. So let's go ahead and get started. We are, again, going to focus primarily on the desktop side of CompanyCam. We'll hop into the app in a little bit here, but the first thing we're going to start with is getting our projects created in CompanyCam. So your projects are going to be where you store all of your information, all your photos, reports, checklists, documents, any notes around a specific address will all be clumped together. So nothing will live on its own. Everything will be attached to an address and a project name. On the desktop, you'll see a blue Create Project button in the top right corner. One workflow that we typically recommend and see a lot of customers doing is creating your projects ahead of time. That way, when your team, when they're in the app and they show up to that address, it's going to show up for them in a nearby project section in the app. So they don't have to do anything other than open the app, find that project, tap on it, and start taking their photos there. So we'll click on our Create Project option. It's going to give me a way to search or type in the address here. We'll throw in our office address. And you'll also see you get a map here. If I go, let me actually back up really quick. I want to show you one other thing. Before we type in our address, you do have a way to draw a geofence. So if you are working on a larger, maybe like an apartment complex or an area that doesn't have an exact address, maybe it's a new development, you have a way to draw a geofence around that location. Great, so you don't have to put in an actual address that maybe isn't the address that you're working on or isn't assigned yet. You also have a way to place a pin on your map here, but we'll go ahead and again type in an address. We can see that map. There's our pin. So if we need to adjust anything, we can just drag and drop that pin to the address that we need. Top right corner is where you're going to start to fill out the project information. So naming your project is going to be fairly important. The one thing I always suggest is make sure you come up with a good naming convention. So as admins and managers, you're likely going to be the ones that are creating those projects. If for some reason it's not you or whoever you've assigned to create those projects, you want to make sure they're still getting created in the way that you're expecting. So it's easy for your team to find them and they don't end up creating a duplicate project in the app because they didn't see the one that they were looking for. So come up with a good naming convention. We'll do customer last name and first name. If you have like a job number or an invoice number, those are always great to put in as a project as well. Our address information filled in since we already searched for that. You do have an address line too if you need to add a suite number or an apartment number into the address as well. Verify the rest of the information looks good, and then you can hit that Create Project option. So CompanyCam syncs through the cloud. So as you create these projects on the desktop, they'll be available for us to use in the app in near real time. So your team will have access to those, even if you're creating them day of or just before they get out on that job site. They will see that in the app when they open that up, and maybe need to refresh it if they've already been there. But those projects will sync automatically. This is where they will go to start taking their photos, access their checklist, create reports, other things that we'll talk about as we get further into class. So I'm going to back up to our projects page here and click on one of our active projects already, and kind of work through the rest of this. So next topic on our agenda is sharing those photos with customers. So you're going to have a lot of information. You might have customers that you just want to provide updates on with that job site, whether it's daily photos, maybe they're requesting a specific photo, or it's at the end of the job and you want to say, hey, here's what it looked like, here's the work that we did, and can kind of tell the story of your process in that job site. So with CompanyCam, you have a few different ways to share that. It does not require you to give that customer full access to your account or even to the project. You can choose the photos that you want to share with them or send everything in the project for them to view so they have access. First thing we'll walk through is sharing all photos. This will be through a gallery link, and you'll find this under the share icon. It'll be to the right of the star. When we click on share, the first one we see is share all images. This is going to share every photo that currently exists in the project. This will be a stagnant link. So if somebody was actively on the job site working on this and we decide to share all photos, it's the 126 photos that are currently in here. As our team continues to take photos, it's not going to change. They're only going to get the 126 photos. They won't see 127, 28, etc. Once we click on that, we have a gallery link that we can now decide if we want to include photo details. It's going to be the who, when, and where those photos were taken. We toggle this off by default, but if you want to share that information, you can just toggle that back on. Last step is click this Get Link to Gallery to generate your photo link. And this link here is what you're going to want to share with your customer. So you can send this out via email. You can send this out via text. Also, they can do that in the app if they are sharing through the app. We'll copy that link, paste it. They will have access to those 126 photos that we've decided to share with them. We'll click on View Gallery here just to give you a quick preview of what this looks like. You'll see has your company name and your logo up there as long as you have that uploaded, and then they will have a list, most recent to oldest photo in this link, numbered so they can view those. They also have an option if they want to download those to their own device, they sure can. The other way, and the most common way that we see people sharing photos, is using a gallery of selected photos. So rather than sharing every photo that exists in the project, this gives you the option to choose what photos you want to send out, what photos are going to be most important for that customer or whoever you're sharing those photos with to see. To share your selected photos, scroll down to your photo feed here, and you can either choose individual photos within a date range. So if you hover your mouse over a photo, top left corner is going to give you a checkbox. We'll select that. That's going to start the process of selecting our photos. We also have the ability to select an entire date range. So if you want to send all of the photos from Wednesday and from last Monday, we can select those dates. It selects them all for us, so we don't have to individually do that. At the top, you're going to see a blue, call it an actions bar. From here, you're going to click on share, and then we'll click on gallery. So those 18 photos that we selected, that's what we're going to add into our gallery link here. Same process, decide if you want to include those photo details, get link to gallery. And this link is what you'll send with those 18 photos. Again, this will be a stagnant link, so they'll only see the photos that you select to share with them. The last way that you can share photos out of CompanyCam is with a project timeline. And this is great if you want to keep your customers up to date as you progress through this job site. So if you want them to see every photo as you take them, the timeline is going to work as a live link. So every photo that you take is going to update to that link. A scenario at the beginning of the job, you can tell your customer, hey, I'm sending you this project timeline link so you can see the photos as we take them in CompanyCam. Utilize this link. Every time they open it, they'll see any new photos that have been taken in, whatever time frame. If it's every day or every 2 days that they're opening that, they'll see any new photos that have been taken in that time period. To share your project timeline, we're going to come back under share. And this third category here is going to be timeline. The bottom option will be share timeline link. So you'll see this here. We can copy this link. This is what we can share with them. They will have access to this link for as long as you want them to have access to it. So we'll share it at the beginning. Let's say we finished our job. We want to no longer provide access to every photo that we take. We can come back under share, and you'll see an option here to disable the timeline link. When we click disable, that makes sure when they click on that link again, they no longer have access to those photos. They'll just need to reach out to you if there are other photos that they didn't see or wanted to save. Even if you have project timeline enabled and that's the link that you're sharing, let's say your team accidentally takes a photo of their foot one day and that's not something that you want to be included in that project list, you have a way to hide those specific photos. So back in our photo feed here, if we hover over and select a photo, under actions, it's going to give us the ability to hide in our project timeline. So again, that photo of a foot or the side of your hand that you don't need in there, you can hide this photo. You'll see there's a little icon with an eye with a slash through it that shows it's been hidden in the project timeline. That's going to remove it from that live link. You also have the ability at any point to unhide any photos if you need them to appear back in that project timeline. Any questions on sharing photos? All right. Awesome. We are going to move on to checklist here. So checklist, if you're not familiar, this is a great way for you to standardize your workflow with your team. This is going to help make sure your team is accomplishing everything that you need them to accomplish on a job site, as well as make sure you're getting all the photos that you need as well. So we can create a checklist on a per project basis or a per situation basis. If you're on our premium side, you're also going to have access to templates. So if you want to completely standardize that workflow, set out templates for your team to use for every job site. On the premium tier, you do have the ability to create those as a template. So I've clicked over to our checklist tab already. As you can see, we've got a bunch of different checklists in here already. As an admin, this is helpful because you can see what checklists are attached. If that checklist is assigned, who it's assigned to, you'll see the progress of how many tasks they've completed or if that task list is completed, as well as the latest activity on that particular checklist. So even from here, you'll get a really good overview of what's happening on the job site with your team. We're going to create a new one to walk through that process so you can see what that looks like. And then I'll show you what checklists look like in the app so you have an idea of what your team is going to see when they are using checklists in the app. So we'll create checklist and we'll go through a new checklist today. Give it a good name. Just put that there and then create our checklist. Once we're in our checklist window, we can now create them by just adding individual tasks to our list, or if we want to add some additional organization to our task list, we can also add sections. So we can add a section, say like pre-inspection, add one for inspection, and then one for post-inspection as well. Within each section, we can now add the tasks that apply to that. Just makes it a little bit easier to digest and section out while we're out on the job site. To create your first task, we will click on new field, and then we'll give our task a title. So we'll say, call this check for damage. Underneath the title of that task, we have an area for notes and instructions. So if there are specific things that you need to make your team aware of, or just make sure that they're constantly remembering while they're working through the job site, add some additional notes or instructions here. Let's say check for cracks, breaks, for example. And that's just helpful information for them to orient on the job site. You'll also have the ability to add some questions to pull some more information from the field while they're working on that. So when we open up our questions, we have 4 options. We can add a yes or no question, a rating scale on a 1 to 5. You have a text box for just an open response, as well as a multiple choice option where you can input all the potential answers or things that they might run into on that job site. They'll be able to check off everything that does apply in that particular case. We're going to add a yes or no question here. We'll also add a rating scale, and you'll see with each question, we have the option to add a description as well. Is there damage and the severity of damage? All right, so we've got 2 questions added. The benefit of having these questions is that they can't complete this task without answering these questions. So again, making sure you're getting the information that you need, but also ensuring that they're doing everything you're expecting them to do on the job site. The other kind of fail-safe or safeguard that we have in place with these checklists are photos required. So for every task that you create, you'll see we have this photos required section in the top right. We automatically turn this on to make sure that you get a photo for this task. If you create a task that isn't going to require a photo, you can always uncheck this so it's not required, but we'll keep this turned on and you'll see this notification here as well. So your team is aware as they're working through that checklist, which tasks actually require photos. From the admin manager side as well, you do have the ability to add any reference images. So maybe you've got a new team and they're working through checklists for the first time, or if you're going through a new workflow, honestly, just want to make sure it's really clear what you're expecting on the job site. Reference images are going to be a great way for you to show your team what type of photo you need or what type of warranty they should be looking for. All of this you can add as a reference image. When we click into this, you've got the ability to add up to 5 images per task, upload them, they'll see them on that task so they can refer back to that as they're taking photos or working through that checklist. Again, making sure that they're doing everything that you're expecting in the way that you're expecting on that job site. So we've got a task created here. We'll follow the same process for as many tasks as we need in this particular checklist. I'm going to hop over to the app really quick. Excuse me, and open up our same project. We'll look at that checklist from the app side so you can see what your crew is going to see. So we'll tap into our checklist. At the top is the new checklist that we just added. When we tap into that, this is what your team is going to see. They'll see each section, they'll see the tasks that are required there, and then there's obviously that photos required so they know they need to take a photo. We can answer these questions. We'll say no, there's no damage. And we'll rate that as an A. The last thing we need to do is take our photo. If we try to check that off, it is going to give us that error message that we have to add a photo before we can complete this task. To the right of the title of the task, you'll see that camera icon. If we tap there, it's going to give me an option to take a photo on the spot. I can also add photos that already exist in our project. Or if I happen to maybe forget to use CompanyCam that day and I took those photos on my device, I can get into the camera roll, add that into my checklist and save it there. That photo will also save to your photo feed. So you'll have a copy outside of that checklist as well. So we'll add photos that already exist in our project here. We can select, we'll have to select one. You can select multiple if you'd like. Then we'll hit add in the top right. Now we see our photo in line with our checklist task. When we check this off, it's going to turn green so we know it's done, but it's also going to give you a date timestamp as well as the name of who completed that task. So again, you are seeing information on who's working on what in the job site and how it's being completed. Back on the desktop, one thing I want to show you as well is that you do have the ability to assign a checklist to someone on your team. So you'll see underneath the task or the checklist title, you've got this option for assign. This will allow you to search for any users on your account. We'll select them and can assign them. They'll get a notification that they've been assigned to that particular checklist. Again, makes it really easy for them to know exactly where they need to go, what they need to work on when they get to the job site. Any questions on checklist? All right, awesome. Let's move on to creating a report. So we walked through our checklist, we gathered all the photos that we need. If we want to send a summary to a customer of that really just tells the story of the job that we've been doing, or if you're supplementing to insurance, reports are a great way to take all those photos, take any descriptive information that you've maybe added through comments or using quick caption or AI notes. You can get that into your report, share that out with your insurance adjuster or with that customer so they have a nice PDF copy that they can review for the job site. So we'll click into our reports tab. Similar to checklists, if you are on our premium tier, you have the ability to add a checklist template. So you can standardize the information that's in that report. Your team can kind of plug and play the photos and information that they need. We'll create a brand new one from scratch. Similarly, we'll hit create report and new report. Again, give it a good title. And then we'll choose our photo layout. So this will be 2, 3, or 4 photos per page. This is information we can adjust after we've created this report, but we're going to select 3 photos for now and create report. So now that we're in our report builder, you'll see we have a cover page. So you'll always have a cover page here. These are settings that you can turn on and off, again, just depending on the information you want to show up on that cover page. If you have your company logo added, we will pull that on your cover page so it gives it a nice professional look. And then any other settings. So if we did need to change the title of the report, or if we wanted to change the section or the page, the photo layout, excuse me, that'll be under manage here. And then under settings from here, we can even add a subtitle if we wanted to. Here's where we can change our photo layout. And then you'll see some additional photo settings that you can update as well. When we're creating our report, you'll always have at least one section. You can add multiple sections, similar to like we did with that checklist. If we wanted sections that were pre-inspection, inspection, and post-inspection, we could do that on this side. Created our new section. We'll do a pre-inspection section here. We can add our inspection and then add our post-inspection. Each section, you can now add the photos that pertain to that, which again makes it really easy for whoever you're sending that report to just kind of orient themselves around what information is going to fall within each section. So in our pre-inspection section here, underneath the title, you have an area for a section summary. This is a great place to put just general information on what they're going to see in the photos that follow. So it could be pricing information, could be a list of damages that you're seeing, recommended solutions that you're suggesting to that customer, pricing information, your company information, a lot of different ways to utilize the section summary area here. You'll see you'll have some formatting. There's some bullet number and listing. You also have the ability to use text snippets. So if you are already formatting out some text that you'll commonly use or information that you're going to add into a lot of reports, you can use these to use this across the board for your team to make that process easy. So we'll pull in some information here. Next thing we're going to do is actually add our photos. So we'll come into add photos. This is going to filter us to this specific project. You'll see you have options at the top if you need to add in another project, or if you're tagging your photos, you can filter by the tags that are associated as well. And just like we saw when we were selecting to share photos in that selected gallery, we can choose an entire date range here, or just hover over specific photos and add them into our report. All right, so we'll add these 15 photos to this particular section. Follow that same process for every section that you have to get all the photos in that you need. If you need to pull in any more, you'll see a plus sign in between each photo so you can add more content there. To the right of each photo, you'll see an area where you can add some additional text. So if we click into this, you'll see those same kind of formatting options that we saw in the section summary. Type in any additional information that helps explain even further what's happening in this particular photo. Or if your team is using that comment or description section already, you can load all of that information in without having to copy and paste or retype the information that you've already added to your photos. If you want to load any of that descriptive information in, under photo options, you'll have a little drop down. You'll see an option here, load photo descriptions or load photo comments. I always suggest using those photo descriptions. It's likely the place you're going to put the information that you might want to share. You can always use that comment section, but just know if you're using that to communicate with your team, there might be information that you don't want to share out with the customer there. So just be cognizant of that if you are using the comments area. We'll pull in a text snippet here as well, so you can see you've got access to that. And we can follow that same process again in our inspection section, add our photos, add our comments and information, and then move on to the next section. Once you are done creating that report, you can now generate this. We'll hit generate PDF. This gives us a nice little preview so we can take a look at all the information that we've put in, make sure our cover page looks right. We've got our photos in, the information in that we need as well. Download that PDF to your desktop, and then you can attach that in an email, share that with that customer or that insurance adjuster. Looks like we've got a question on reports here.
Yes. Can you walk through the cover page, how we can edit the cover
Yes.
page in a report?
Absolutely. All right. So if you need to edit your cover page, left-hand side, I should say, you'll see that cover page option. When we click into that, it's going to show us all of the different settings for our cover page. any of these, we automatically turn all of these on. But if there's anything here that you do not want to show up on your cover page, maybe we don't want to show our photo count, we can come over and toggle that option off. Do the same thing with our created, for example, and it automatically updates for us. We see that little notification in the top right corner. Big one is going to be our company logo. I always recommend keeping this turned on. Just make sure you have your logo uploaded so we can pull that and add it into your cover page. Any other questions on reports? All right, we've got a few minutes left here. We are gonna kind of rapid fire through the last few things that we've got. Want to talk about collaborators. If you are working with any subcontractors or anybody outside of your company that happens to be working on that job site, you want to make sure that you can still tell the full story of what happened, even if they're not the photos that you're taking. This is where our collaborators comes into play. This is going to allow you to add specific people, or maybe, you know, that window subcontractor, you can add them into this project so they're able to take photos in CompanyCam and save them to this project. To add your collaborators, it'll be on the right-hand side here under collaborators. We click in. Oh, let me refresh here. Our Wi-Fi is being a touch slow. When you click into collaborators, essentially it's going to give you a link that you're going to share out with your collaborators. And you can send this out via email. You can also share this as a text message, but that link is going to invite them to the project that you're inviting them to. So it'll be on a project by project basis. As you invite them to your projects in CompanyCam, it's not going to be for absolutely every project that you have. It will just be those specific ones that you need them to see. We'll come back over here and see if I can get this project to load. Looks like my Wi-Fi is being a little funky. Give us just a moment here. Okay, try this one more time, see if we can get this to load. All right. I'm actually going to pop over to the app and see if we can walk through collaborators on that side. The process is going to be the same. It's just going to look a touch different here. So in the app here, we see this little building icon is going to be for collaborators. When we tap into that, it's going to show us a list of active collaborators. We'll also show that we own the project. So we've got 2 collaborators on here already. If we need to add a new one, at the very bottom, you'll see invite a company. You'll see at the top is the collaborator option that we want. So we want to invite a sub or a company. We'll add this link. The link that generates here is what we're going to share. So we'll share our invite. We can copy this, add it to a text message or an email. I'm going to back up one step here so we can go through what our collaborators have access to. So they're going to be able to add photos, view and share the photos that are already in your project, as well as view and make any comments that are happening in that project. So they have limited access to your project. They're not going to have the ability to do absolutely everything, but the important things like taking your photos, having access to view and communicate with them through that process. Once you've added a collaborator, at any point, you can go in and end that collaboration, meaning that they no longer have access to your project. They only have access to a copy of that they retain in their account. If your collaborators do not have CompanyCam, they will sign up for a basic subscription. They do not have to pay for CompanyCam in order to be a collaborator. So they can do so for free, can collaborate with you on as many projects as they need to without signing up for a full subscription. But if you are collaborating with someone who is a paid customer of CompanyCam, they will have access to your checklist. So if you're using those checklist features and that sub happens to have CompanyCam, you can make them aware that they can work through the checklist that they have within that project. So again, you're still just kind of streamlining that workflow a little bit more, making it really easy for them to capture the information, and you get all the information that you need from that as well. Any questions on collaborating? Alrighty. Awesome. I know we're a little over time here, so we'll kind of open up, see if there's any last minute questions I can answer before we highlight some new features and tell you about some upcoming classes. Anything we want to ask live? Okay, awesome. Our team is going to keep working in the chat and Q&A to make sure we get you guys answered today. I do want to point out we have some new features that we're kind of talking about a lot right now that have been really handy and helpful for customers. So if you have not seen the AI quick caption or the AI page, note page, check those out. They're going to be available in your app, in the app or on the desktop. Great way to capture some information and just kind of organize what's happening on the job site in a different way. If you want more information on that, I think we're going to drop the video as well as I think maybe a tutorial in the chat so you can get a quick look at what that is if you haven't played around with it. But we can also get you in touch with your customer success manager if you want more of a demo on that or have any other questions on how the AI side of that works. All right, so upcoming classes. We have a CompanyCam checklist, all about CompanyCam checklist. That's going to take place on Wednesday, August 28th, 11 a.m. We also have CompanyCam on mobile. This is great for your crew, anybody that's a standard or restricted level permission set. This CompanyCam mobile is going to be really great for them. It's going to be app focused, so they can see how to take their photos, access checklists, work through even using offline mode. That's going to be Wednesday, September 4th at 11 a.m. And then on September 11th, we will have a webinar, Creating Your Safety Plan. That will also take place at 11 Central. If you want to register for these classes, or if you are curious about any of our past classes or webinars, go to companycam.com/classes. You'll find your links there to register for any of our upcoming classes, as well as links to view our previously recorded classes. That said, you'll also receive a recording of this class within 24 hours here to your email, so you can review this information. Or if you wanted to share this with anybody who wasn't able to join us today, you'll have a link that you can share with them so they can review this information as well. Our team is going to wrap up in the Q&A in the chat section. So if you have questions there, they will get those answered, and we'll make sure we get you over to your customer success manager to answer those questions. If you want a one-on-one demo or a larger training for your team, reach out to whoever your CSM is. If you are not sure who your contact is, send an email to success@companycam.com, or you can reach out to our support team, chat in the app, or go to support@companycam.com. They will get you helped out there. Thank you guys so much for sticking with us and hanging out with us this morning to go through class. We look forward to seeing you in the next one.